For me, the future of photography is not decided by photography itself. Yeah, it's AI that is going to decide what is left of photography.
This AI thing freaks me out.
What I love about AI image generators is that unfiltered training material is a mirror of the human condition.
The real concern about AI, and I'm just going to throw this out there right now, is that there's some debating that the AI, artificial intelligence, will be the death of all humanity.
Artificial intelligence is definitely one of the hottest, if not the hottest, topics surrounding photography these days. The exponential advancements of AI technologies do not omit the area which is so close to our hearts, photographic art. To get a better understanding of what is actually happening and what possible implications can all of those developments have when it comes to image making, I sat down with two extremely interesting guests who have been following the most recent AI growth very closely. Boris Eldagsen, Berlin-based photo and video artist who recently won and refused the Sony World Photography Award, and Shane Balkowitsch, American wet plate photographer, very concerned about the threat which AI-generated images pose to the future of photography. I hope very much you will enjoy this fascinating conversation. Gentlemen, we are going to be talking tonight about, I don't even know where to start, so about artificial intelligence, about photography, about imagery, about all possible crossovers during, in between those mediums. Where should we start? Boris, you won a photography competition. Is this correct?
It's not correct. I was selected as a category winner of the open competition of the Sony World Photography Awards, and I refused the award.
Why? What happened? Why? Just bring us up to speed. The viewers who maybe didn't follow the story. What happened?
I applied not to win anything. I applied to make a test. I wanted to see if photo competitions are aware of the fact that AI-generated images will be handed in. And I looked at the guidelines of photo competitions, and when they have not been adjusted by the end of last year, I just applied, and I wanted to see what was going to happen.
I looked at your work, at your biography, and what you have been doing in the past. You are actually working in both mediums. You have been a active photographer, but you also work in AI, right? Or with AI imagery yourself?
I studied visual arts, so photography was always the basis. At some point, I continued with video works. Then it became more installative. And a year ago, I started with AI. And immediately, I fell in love with this new way of generating images. It was like something that I have always been waiting for without knowing.
And what triggered your, urge to test those competition rules and boundaries, and and the way those competition bodies react to, without maybe even knowing, to those AI images?
In Germany, I'm active in the oldest photo association of the country, Deutsche Fotografische Akademie. Exists for 104 years. And it's a non-profit organization of artists, photo artists, that meet twice a year to talk about photography as an artistic medium. And I've been one of the first to work with AI in Germany. So very early, I was invited to give interviews, to give presentations, talks. I started as one of the first to give workshops in Germany. And so I became like the expert to ask. And also when it was urgent for the photo associations to come up with a position paper for themselves and for our umbrella organization, the German Photo Council, to have a clear position on the topic. And that was a process that took a couple of months. I was helping many of them to develop this paper. I helped the German photojournalists a lot. And through those debates in the working groups, I realized that most of the German photo bubble was in shock, was like frozen, couldn't make their minds up what to do, how to react. And the main problem was that they didn't even know what was possible with AI image generators. So I helped a lot in Germany, and because of this role I suddenly had, I wanted to make a test and just to see what was going to happen. I had no plan further because I did not expect to be selected as a winner.
Mm-hmm. And Shane, you are on the other kind of side of the spectrum. I mean, not completely, but you are also into photography, right? But you are working with wet plates, you know, and you have your own studio. And so there is even, I would say, some more physical labor involved, you know, and you are not touching AI technology for your work, at least, at all, you know. Tell us just very briefly what you are doing, you know, what's your photographic process?
Yeah, so for the last nearly 11 years, I've been practicing wet plate collodion photography from the 1851 process invented by Frederick Scott Archer. So if you look over my shoulder here, you'll see a plate that I made last week. So these are silver on glass images, and it doesn't get much more analog than wet plate photography. So I've immersed myself in this. That's the only art that I practice. I don't even own a digital camera other than my iPhone. So I'm probably on the far end of the spectrum away from artificial intelligence and digital photography in general.
Yeah, and we are sitting here today because of this ongoing debate. You know, it's all over the media. You know, these days we know it about the artificial intelligence, you know, entering the space of photography. And maybe we could start, you know, like quickly. You know, I have been thinking a lot, of course, not only before recording this podcast, but in general, this last month, about my own definition, right, of photography. Do both of you, do you have your own, you know, dictionary kind of definitions of what photography is?
Sure.
Go ahead. You can go first, Boris, if you'd like.
For me, it needs light. Yeah, it's in the word photos, and that light is reflected from objects most of the time through a lens on film or a chip or whatever. So we need that light that is reflected. And most of the time we need a lens, but you can also have photography without a lens. And that's my definition.
The problem came to my attention when I started on Instagram. I started noticing all these AI photographs. And immediately I thought, well, hold on a moment. These aren't photographs. And then I thought, well, maybe this is just a couple of people making this claim. And I did a simple search, and I found that there was 178,000 AI photographs on Instagram. Now, whether or not these people that are making these artificial intelligence images understand photography at all, I'm not sure. But immediately I thought, well, this is a problem. So I wrote an article for Petapixel talking about that, you know, I don't know. I can't, you know, I think these AI artists need to come up with their own terminology. And I've proposed some terminology, but it's as a person not practicing. But I knew one thing for sure, that these were not photographs, that these should not be called photographs. We shouldn't associate that with photographs. And they're just a new genre of image making. I want to say that I came up, one of my suggestions was prompted artificial graphic design. I know that's a little wordy, but some people call it like fake photography, or they use these, you know, they use the word photography or part of the word photography in their description of these. And I've just always shied away from that. I just don't think that there's any part of this is photography. So let's just leave photography where it began, you know, 180 years ago. And this is a new day and age, and this is new technology, and we just need to come up with new terminology. I think terminology is important.
Yeah, so it seems like we three of us, we are all in this, basically in the same boat. I mean, when it comes to definitions, right? For me, it's obvious. It's about light, like Boris mentioned. It's about me, photographer, observing the reality, the real reality, right? And capturing it on my, light capturing device, and then sharing it with my viewers. Shane, you too. So I guess the problem is not the technology itself, and obviously for Boris neither, but it's the terminology, right? And
Yes.
now, Shane, you have shared already, prepared, written a couple of articles. Both of you have been all over the media in the last couple of months. Digging deeper, where do you see a bigger problem? Potentially endangering this species, of photographers, or the genre of photography itself? What do you think could be potential? What kind of bad scenario could start unfolding itself in the future if we don't react?
I would like to go back to the terminology if possible, because if we move on now to a different topic, I might not be able to. I totally agree with Shane that the terminology is really important, and that it is something that is bigger and not photocentric, because all the AI photography or pho with X photography, it's very photographic centric. And I can use the same process to generate images that look like drawings or painting or objects or music or whatever. So my favorite is promptography, because the prompt is just like giving an initiative to the AI, can be words, can be images, whatever, to generate. And the problem that I see here is even experienced curators of photography assume that AI generated images can be called photography, because there are many that just see a line from analog to digital to AI. And I think we really need to differ. Are you thinking from the end? Yeah, something that looks like photography is photography? Or are you thinking from the beginning and from the process? And I'm often shocked that curators that studied art history think so messy and just say, because it looks like photography, it has learned the language of photography, it is photography. Mm-hmm. And that is for me the main problem. First, to clean up that mess, and then the second is to talk about the things they have in common, because they look the same. They will be very hard to differentiate by the end of the year, because AI has seen so many photographs that it has learned the photographic language, but it doesn't need the medium of photography anymore. It is something in itself. Does it make sense for the photo world to put it into one basket or not? Shall we have a separate festival or museum of AI-generated images? And what I see in the last weeks is that the debate has already had some results, that photo competitions change their guidelines, that they have opened up new categories for AI-generated work, and that most of them shy away of calling it AI photography. And I think this is a positive thing.
For sure. For sure. My concern, the second article that I wrote, Thomas, was in regards to history. Is that, as a person that's practicing analog photography, and I'm on a 20-year journey to capture, photograph 1,000 Native Americans in the process that I hold so dear. I went out to AI and was able to create a historic-looking wet plate of a young lady, a young Native American lady that never existed. She never will exist, and my concern there is, as someone who's have some of my work at museums, is that 100 years from now, is someone I brought her into life, that she doesn't exist, her tribe doesn't exist, her heritage doesn't exist. She's nowhere to be found in the past, the present, or the future. Will the future somehow become confused by this. They think that, oh, I found it online. This must be a Cheyenne girl. And will she be coveted? Will she be celebrated? Will a print be made of this girl that I made that does not exist? And will it be put on a wall of a museum somewhere? That's my problem. And the second problem is that I realized to me is that if you think about it theoretically, eventually we may have more artificial images online than we do real images. And then what we're going to have is the problem of the AI training, because the AI right now trains in batches. It, looked at data from a couple of years ago or whatever it is. But at some point it's going to be plugged into present day and it's going to be trained in real time. And what you're going to have this regurgitation of information and imagery where an AI will start training on previously generated AI images. And then we have to ask ourselves, what in the hell do we have at this point? And so not as a historian, but as a person that's trying to capture some history here, these are all just things that are up in the air, and they just jump off the page to me, and it's really worrisome. And as a person who talks to museums and curators, they're already expressing their concerns in regards to this. Is that they have to figure out how to filter this information, because obviously they're going to start getting, they get digital scans all the time. Now, are they going to be able to rest assured that that was not created by AI? I think, I'm not sure. What are your thoughts?
Listening to both of you now, I kind of start getting the feeling that the whole problematic is kind of getting split maybe into two categories. So we have imagery as a total, as a kind of pool of visual work, including both photography and AI generated images, right? And this would be visual art or imagery or whatever you want to call this part. And I am talking here about I'm imagining a person who wants a piece of visual art on the wall, to decorate the space or simply to enjoy. Don't you feel like in the future this could be one part where this distinction between human generated or AI generated will really get blurry? Because in the end it will be the actual piece, the thing which I see in front of my eyes, which is I like or I don't like, right? So I feel this would be one pool of pieces of visual. If we call it art, is a different discussion. But then second, more problematic part of this whole process now is, of course, like Boris is mentioning, documentary work, problems with confirming if any given image is representing the actual reality or not, and what are the mechanisms or guaranteeing, right, or of confirming exactly this fact that it is a real scene captured by a camera, light sensitive camera, or is it a scene of President Trump being captured by police, which never existed, right? Don't you feel it can go somehow in those two directions? And then like museums of photography or of art would also have to almost like, start opening different departments or different, rooms in their buildings?
I think before we talk about art, let's talk about documentary part, because I think Shane and I will totally agree on this topic. For me, the future of photography is not decided by photography itself. Yeah, it's AI that is going to decide what is left of photography. And I see that except documentary, all other parts of the photographic world of today can be taken over or enriched, augmented by AI. But if we talk about documentary, it's really under attack from many different sides and with many different effects for society. And I see similar problems, as Shane mentioned, that we at some point can't differ what has happened in the past, but also what is happening today. It's the disinformation potential that has been growing exponentially. You have it's made so easy to generate fake images that you don't need skill anymore. The AI is filling in whatever you lack of skills. And this has is a big threat for democracies. And I'm really concerned about it. And I see two problems. One thing is that the amount of AI generated images is just much more than the authentic images coming out from photojournalists. So how can I identify what is what? So we need to have a kind of fact check system in the media, in the news, that I can trust that this image is authentic and it has been proved to be authentic. And now you have like two things. One side is the technical aspect, yeah, and how can we come up with new technology that the metadata is not lost, that we can be sure that this is photographed and not generated. And then you have a fact-checking level on the media side that is very time intense, and you need more staff, more money. And how are we going to finance this? Because the structure is not existing. Can we co-fund the media and the press as a state, as citizens, without touching the freedom of press? That is something to be solved. And I also see colleagues working in photojournalism who are underpaid, who need to have a second job to be able to continue as photojournalists. And those second jobs are under attack because ad agencies and magazines are all trying to generate images themselves instead of giving these as jobs to photographers. So this is something which is problematic now, in the future, and also talking about images we think that are historic.
Boris, you have worked with, both of those kind of files and media, like AI generated and photography. On a very basic technological level today, we were wondering with Shane before recording this, actually, you have the EXIF data, right? Baked into digital files. It says which camera was used, which lens was used. Is it not a strong enough differentiator or indicator today already? Like if you work with, Midjourney or one of those platforms, there is no such data in these files, right? Would it be the basic check already today? Or am I wrong?
Well, I think what World Press Photo does ask for is raw files. That's also something. That is possible, yeah, but still you need people to check it. But what about social media? Yeah, what about all the images I upload on Instagram and Facebook and whatever? Yeah, there is no metadata visible.
Screen grabs. I mean, if you bake in one of these, and it was one of the things I was arguing for, is that, and I think Google just had an article where they're in the future, their AI generators are going to bake in code behind the scenes to identify these. But like Boris says, if he shares it on Instagram, I can blow it up on my screen. I can grab the screen, and that the information's lost there too. So I think it's only going to work to a certain extent. I was accused a couple of weeks ago of making an AI photograph, which was actually one of my own analog photographs. So I'm really good about keeping pictures, iPhone photographs of me making my work. And I was able to show me standing next to the person that I was accused of making an AI photograph of.
The problem with is maybe even bigger with analog photography, funnily enough, because there is, it has to be scanned.
Yep.
Which there is no EXIF data to start with, right, in the file. Correct. So it's even difficult to prove that it actually came from an analog camera.
Yep.
So definitely technology has to be, updated on some, levels here and some regulations most probably have to come into place, right, on those highest levels when it comes to media, outlets and so on.
And we can't expect these people that are making these AI generated images. We can't expect them to just all obey or listen to rules. I mean, you just can't say, what's going to, my example of 178,000 photographs, AI photographs. I mean, these people don't care. They're generating these images, and you're not going to be able to force them to comply. and by extreme numbers, they're just going to, a wave of digital glut is going to wash across all of photography.
Mm-hmm. Boris, I want to touch, if it's okay, we switch gears. I want to touch on something else. You know, you work as a photographer, but you also work as an AI image artist. I want to talk about emotions as an artist behind, you know, producing those two different kinds of images. When I take a photograph, you know, I'm excited in the field. I notice something, I capture it my way. I post-process it my way, right? But, you know, and then I display the image to the public and put my name under it. You can do, of course, the same today with the NI image. As you mentioned already in many interviews, it's not one click. Very good images, you know, prompt generated also require very often hours of labor, right? Of work in front of the computer. It's, you know, many prompts, combining the prompts. Okay, still, you end up with your final image. And as I understand, you put your name under it. Is it correct?
Yes.
Now, the image has been computer generated, even if it's, you know, 1,000 steps, but it has been computer generated on, you know, under your command. Mm-hmm. What's happening? What are your emotional differences here when it comes to, you know, presenting your photograph and your AI image, if any?
I don't have any emotional difference. I don't know why, because I see many parallels in creating photographs and creating AI-generated images. If I use in-painting and out-painting, it is like drawing. I started with pencil drawing. So you draw some lines and you don't know where you are going, and then you realize, oh, this is the wrong line. You take an eraser and you erase that certain part and try to do it better. This is exactly like in-painting, out-painting. If I photograph, there is also, like you mentioned, an element of surprise, of chance. I have been photographing out in the Berlin night for 15 years, always going to the same place. And I never know what is going to happen. I have this element of surprise also in working with AI. When you start elaborating on a prompt, you never know what you get out of it, but then you need to react to it. You need to improve, and you try. And like yesterday and today, I had a breakthrough of finding a combination of things to create something I was really looking after. And it took me a week. I was playing like a week with prompts and trying different things to sort out how I get somewhere. And this is also an excitement when it happens. Yeah, when I solved it, it's like a Sudoku, like a riddle, like a crossword. Yeah, mm-hmm. It takes some effort to solve it.
And the fact that it was not reality in the first place that you were capturing.
Careful, careful. You are talking to somebody who studied 6 years of reality, of philosophy. And I have been teaching in Australia at a photography studies college, photography as art. And I always started my class talking about reality and then talking about like 10 different theories of reality. And just to destroy this naive thinking that the machine we call camera is able to depict reality. Yeah, we all live in different realities, and the only truth we have is a certain truthfulness if we have looked inside and became conscious about ourselves and how we look at the world, because we all look at the world differently. And this is what I love going out with photographers and artist friends in Berlin when they visit and are in town, just to go to the same place and to see how they look at this place that I often photograph, how they interact with the place, what kind of images they are able to get out of it. And if you have very good photographers and photo artists at the same place, They will all create different things. And this is what I want from photography. If somebody photographs what everybody can see, yeah, it's a document, yeah, but for me, it's not art. If you get something out of this place that I haven't seen, but looking at your photo, I realize it was there, then it is art. And what is your understanding of reality, Thomas?
No, absolutely. Actually, okay, it's a great point. But still, deep down, I know, or at least I. Let's not get into philosophy today. Then we are going for 4 hours, I think.
No problem with this.
No, at least I know it was me who was there at this place, and it was my eyes, my organ, visual eyes, who reacted to whatever it was, and it was my brain who processed it and my emotions, and the final output is my image. My brain decided when to move the finger and click the shutter, right? The AI imagery feeds of pre-existing images, as I understand, or, information, and there's a slight difference somewhere there, right? Slight difference. Does it matter? In what way, and does it matter to you as an artist, as a creator?
What I love about AI image generators is that unfiltered training material is a mirror of the human condition. It's something like the collective unconscious, yeah, like Carl Gustav Jung tried to define it. And I like working with it. I find it fascinating. And it is not a collage. It is not copying something. And here I can again go back to philosophy. For me, it's something like Plato's idea. He said, if you look at tables, they all look different shapes. They are round, they are square, they are from wood or metal, 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs. And there is a timeless idea of a table, which is a plate where you can work on and something below that is holding it. And the AI has understood the idea of a table and the idea of everything else that was in the training material. And my prompt is then generating a specific table, which is wood and 4 legs and painted green. This is something which I find very fascinating. I'm working out of my imagination. The more I know, the more experience I have, the better results I'm going to get. AI is a technology where I have an advantage being older because I had 30 years time to collect that knowledge, to work with it. And if you look at text prompting, I see 11 elements of a text prompt, and 9 of them are directly related to my experience as somebody who has been doing images for 30 years. That the material has been collected online without asking the makers is something that needs to be changed. Yeah, I totally support all initiatives that say we need to have a constant transparency where the material comes from and an opt-in, opt-out version for creatives to get their image out of the training material. And if you look at Stable Diffusion, it's all happening already. But again, if we talk about copyright, the problem is not the training material. Everybody is talking about the training material. This is 25% of the problem, and it's going to be solved by next year. What I see the main problem is that the single user is encouraged to generate images by using existing images through uploads, through different presets. Nobody controls where those images are coming from. And 75% of the copyright problems are here. And another thing to make it more complex, and I have done this with Ansel Adams many times, you don't need to have Ansel Adams in the training material to generate an image that looks like Ansel Adams. If you can describe the aesthetic quality of an Ansel Adams picture in words, you can generate it. And you just go to ChatGPT and you say, this is one of the main images of Ansel Adams. Can you describe me the main aesthetic quality? And the result you get, you simply turn into a text prompt. There is no need to mention Ansel Adams anymore. And you can generate a picture of a German island that looks like an Ansel Adams photo. That means if you have a handwriting, a style, a personal aesthetic as a photographer, artist, whatsoever, there's nothing you can do. If you can describe it in words, it doesn't matter if you're in the training material, and people need to realize this.
Shane?
Well, I think, if we talk about the problem with the training data, this could have been, if they wouldn't have taken the shortcut, they could have solved this problem and not even had this problem at all. If they would have just, these AI companies would have just asked for people to submit their data. They could have paid them 5 cents an image or whatever it is. But I'm sure there would have been plenty of people to submit images with approval, and then they could have trained on that. But they just wanted to scour the internet and just take all this stuff from all these photographers and these artists. I mean, you're not just talking about modern day people. You're talking about the Renaissance painters. You're talking about every kind of visual art. Michelangelo's in there. And I went out to one of these sites, and there was a site where you could search, and I was able to find 30 of my Native American wet plates were actually used in the training data. And it wasn't, it's this opt out, and there was a recent article where an artist asked to be opt out, and he received a $1,000 bill in the mail to have his work expunged from the training data. But the fact is, go ahead, Boris.
It's a bit more complex. Okay. Everybody is talking about Stable Diffusion and Lion, who is the non-profit organization that was collecting all the data. And everybody is talking about Lion because all the others, Google and OpenAI and Microsoft, don't disclose where they got their training material from. And if you go back to the history of Lion, they come from Hamburg. There's a very good article on Bloomberg.com. It was founded by a school teacher like 2 years ago, talking to others on Discord when they realized that it started and all the power of the material was lying in the hands of big companies. So Lion was basically a non-profit organization that started very idealistically to have to create something that doesn't allow the big companies to do whatever they want and to create any bias they want. So they decided to go open source and to collect this training material by themselves. It was voluntary work. And later, Stability AI, the boss approached them and said, you have the material I would like to use, and you need computing power. What about a deal? And first they thought, he's crazy, just go away. And later they said, okay, let's make this kind of like a win-win situation. And the guy who started it all, the school teacher, he's still a school teacher. Yeah, he is still doing it out of an ethical approach for him, refusing any better paid jobs that he was offered meanwhile, just to keep it clean. So if you take a closer look, it's complex who is good, who is bad, and everybody is attacking them because they say, we believe in open source, you can look at it. And have I been trained? Yeah, that's the platform you have been talking about. Is now turned to something where you can basically have an opt-in, opt-out version, and it's getting into a different direction. We don't know what OpenAI and Microsoft have in their training data, how many of your images, Shane, are in their training data. We don't know what Google is using, if they also use Lion material from Hamburg. It's complex. It's really complex. The longer I'm working with the material, the more I read, the more I realize everything's gray there. It's not just black and white.
Again, I'm listening, and I have a question, Shane. It's actually to you. Like I'm trying to pinpoint this. Again, emotional responses. Of us maybe not being happy with our photographs being
integrated
in those databases and so on. If I visit your exhibition, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say, you are producing amazing work. I'm impressed. I visit your exhibition, several times. I have your books, and I get into, under your influence of your work, I get into producing wet plates, of Native Americans, and you see them one day, and they are really close to what you are actually producing. But it's different people on my images. Are you running a copyright strike against me? Or how does it work these days? Like, how would you feel? And what's the difference here?
Well, as a unique artist and someone who's actually, having these people into my studio, I don't, if we're talking about the Native Americans, there are other people that are doing wet plates of Native Americans that have followed me. And I applaud that, because we need all the help we can get, because these particular people are here for only so, some of the things that have happened to them. So you can't, no matter how someone tries, they can't actually make my work. I mean, I use a specific lens, and they could even be, using my lens, I suppose. So they could still use the same kind of camera. They're using the same chemistry. I just don't. I'm unique the way that I do things, and I don't have a problem with another human artist having their hand in a certain genre of photography. I mean, I'm not the first one to take photographs of Native Americans, for God's sakes. I mean, Edward Curtis was taking photographs back in the early 1900s. So I don't think people confuse my work with his. So when you bring that human component in, it becomes rather unique. This homogenized, having the AI take from all these different sources and then bringing something together and having an output. That's where I see a lot of the same things coming out of it. I see a lot of the same kind of imagery coming out. Because, but then again, like Boris, if you use he knows very well that if he uses the same prompts, he's never going to get the same thing twice. So there's, like Boris is saying, it's very complicated, but,
yes,
but do you feel then, endangered as a photographer doing what you do? Seeing those AI generated things, does it kind of,
I don't have a problem with AI at all. I think it's its own genre. I don't have any problem. I've been trying to, think about the idea of this as being called art, and I'm writing a third article about should we call AI art, and obviously we need to call it art, right? I mean, people have duct taped bananas on walls, and they're called art. People have submitted toilets to art exhibits, and they were debated whether or not that was art. These are complicated things. So I've never wanted to be in the position where I'm like some gatekeeper on what is art and what is not. I'm just wondering if the prompter, and maybe Boris can address this, I'm just wondering if the person doing the prompting is actually the artist, if they're not just the initiator of the art. And are we willing to assign the ownership of this work to the AI? Like, is the AI the artist, and maybe the prompter is some other character in this scheme of creating imagery? I'm not sure. I mean, that's where I'm, Boris and I spoke earlier this morning by a text, and I posed that to him as like, is the prompter the artist, or is the AI the artist? And if the AI is the artist, or the AI generating company, if they own the rights to this output, are we willing to give this, this would be the first time in history that we would be giving ownership to a computer.
Well, again, it's complex. I see four different possibilities. If we talk about the balance of creativity between man and machine here, if you have worked for a longer time with those platforms and you identify the strengths, you jump from one platform to the next, and you have a workflow that is more complex, then there are many artistic decisions you make on the go. You are the director and you decide what you would like to have. And it's not just click and generate. It can take time. And then it's clearly a tool, like it is for me. And then the creativity is on my side strongly. And the AI is just helping, is an assistant here of getting me where I would like to go. If you have worked for it for some time, but not so long, and you have an idea of how it works, then the balance is more like this, and you are having a lead. If you have no idea of like image making, photography, and whatsoever, and you just type in Trump gets arrested, it's like 1 out of 11 text prompt elements. Then all the other 10 elements are decided by the AI. Then the AI has the lead, and you are dragged along. And that is something which we see all around. In the future, you had people with no education and skills trying to create images that didn't look good. That was like the bottom. And then you had the professionals up here. And this is going to change. Like the untalented, unskilled, whatsoever image makers are now pushed up by the help of AI and are very close to the professionals. And this is why the professionals are suddenly scared, and think, can I be replaced? What they are missing out on realizing is that if they use AI, they can also get a little bit higher. The difference might not be as big as it was in the past, but it does make a difference. And what most people think of, if they have no idea how those machines work, is that the AI is totally autonomous, like an artistic genius, and can make all those decisions on the way, not just like for one image generation, but for a complex workflow, like I have been describing it. It might happen one day. It's not existing yet. And I'm curious to see what the outcome will be. That is the difference in creativity. What are we talking about? And most people don't differentiate. And then the second thing is, if we talk about art, I've studied semesters of aesthetics and the definition of art for 100 years now, like since Duchamp put in that urinal in New York at the exhibition. Anything can be art just by declaring it. But is it powerful art? Does it touch me? My definition of art is totally different than the mainstream that is asking, what does the artist want to tell me? I think it's much better that you look at an artwork and you ask yourself, what does the artwork trigger in me? What emotions, memories, ideas? Am I attracted? Am I appalled? Why? So a good artwork for me is invitation to an inner journey. And this is also why I don't explain my works. And I think it can happen also with an image that is generated by a machine. We will see. But I don't feel threatened that somebody is going to replace me. I have lived like 53 years on this planet and had certain experiences and interests that I put in the making of my images. And I'm a person, a machine is a machine. Yeah, it has no personality yet.
Yeah,
Boris, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Electrician. I understand. Or other way around. This particular image, did it start with a clear vision in your mind? You had a clear idea what you wanna, achieve?
It started with a text prompt of the two ladies, and then it was 20 steps in painting, out painting, and was always changing, like I do in photography. When I do like stage photography, I have a place, I have a person, I have an idea, but the process is open. It can lead to whatever. And the best photographs are those I could have not imagined in the beginning.
So you didn't have a very particular kind of, visual idea of how the final image you want to look like? Or was it
that would be boring, wouldn't it?
Well, there are different kinds of photographers, I would say. I talk to many who have, worked with a very precisely, defined visions of what they want to achieve during the process. I don't know, Shane, how is it with you?
Can we talk, Boris, a little bit about our little challenge? That I did an AI challenge earlier this week, Tomas, where this image over my right shoulder here is called waning, and it's nothing more than a female with a prop moon face on that my prop master made for me, and I had a good idea of what I was going to be doing, and so I thought, okay, well, let's ask the AI artist to if this was their idea, like you're describing, Tomas. When I create, I have an idea of what I'm going to create. It's in my mind, and I chase it and I chase it and I chase it and I chase it until I get what I wanted, and it's just the way that I create, and I'm a simpleton, but understand that. So, So I posed the challenge out there to Boris and to anyone else with AI. And anyone goes to my Facebook page, they can see this challenge and the resulting images. And I propose that take AI, and if this was your idea, if this was what you were trying to get to, try to render that. Like, try to tell the AI. I was trying to find out how much control, which I don't know. I'm naive, and I'm always willing to be wrong with all these things, but I'm just asking questions. And the point of the whole thing was, how much control do these prompters have over the AI? And some people spent 5 minutes on this task. Some people spent hours on this task. And people tried to get back to this image, if this was their idea, to my image. And we got some really interesting results. Boris even had some of his college students actually weigh in, and it was an assignment that he gave them. And the results that came back were just astounding. Some of them were very beautiful, and some of them were disturbing. I tried myself just one attempt with 5 words, and I shared it with Boris, and he quickly told me, well, there's 11 keys or something that I'm not aware of, Boris. He said, you only use 2 of the 11 or something like this. And I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
I can tell you more about it.
So, but the interesting part is that nobody could really get to that. Like, I wasn't even saying exactly. Did Boris, you saw the results, right? I'd really like to have your opinion on the results, the resulting images.
Well, I haven't had the time to try it out myself, but I saw the main problem that the AI couldn't figure out that there is a female body and this moon head. Yeah. That was something that needed to be prompted differently. I think there would have been a solution, but that's something I saw in most of the results as a problem that was unsolved. But I can give you examples. Like, if you say you want to have like a woman with a head of a moon, that would be the subject. And that subject can be described more detailed. Is it an antique goddess? Is it a carnival? Yeah, what are we talking about? And what is the format of the image you would like to generate? Is this a photograph, a drawing, a painting? And then what kind of photograph? Yeah, is it a wet plate? Is it a Polaroid? And if you talk about the technology, there are so many aspects that you can just use, the camera type, the lens, the shutter speed. Is it film? Is it digital? What is the quality of the image? It will be rendered most of the time in 1024 pixels, but does it look like it could be 8K? Or is it glitchy? Or does it look like it's a game engine render? What about the composition? What is in the foreground, middle ground, background? What is the position of the camera? Is the camera looking down onto that person, or is it from the side? What about the light? What about the colors? What about the references? And for me, references is more than style. It's not just like the saying it's shot by Shane Balkowitsch, but you can say it looks like it's 1970s, 1920s. It's a certain kind of school. It's a certain kind of platform. It's an art form. These are all elements you can use in that prompt. And what about the genre? It makes a difference if you have a portrait of a woman with a moon's head photographed as a portrait, as an art photo, as an advertisement, or documentary. Then we are in carnival again. Yeah. So all these different aspects can be used in the prompt. And then you need to figure out the influence, how it works. With most of the platforms, you can do weights. That means if there is something in the text prompt that is underrepresented, you just make it more important. And things that are overrepresented, you just dim them down a bit. You can combine certain prompts with others. That would be, I describe what I would like to have on the picture. And then I say, okay, I want to have a grotesque theme. I want to have a symbolic theme. I want to have a surrealist theme. The options to work with text, just describing the picture, are many. But for me, the most interesting part is happening when you start to get out of that conventions, and when you start to play with language, to play with text, to describe things that are impossible to imagine. But you will always get an image. And you don't know what kind of image you will get until you try.
It should be noted, Tomas, when I did my ignorant text prompting to try to mimic this, and just this again, one attempt, 5 words, it was like half moon, woman, mask kind of thing. The AI appeared to take moon as a woman's naked bottom, and that's what it returned to me.
I was about to say my prompting skills, I think, are on this level that we would end up with a man with a head of a sun or something like this.
There's levels to this game, and Boris could educate us very well.
Boris, Shane, we are heading direction 1 hour. I think slowly we're wrapping up. We are definitely in living in exciting times, right? When it comes to art making, image making, and so on. I would like to wrap up with kind of your 1-2 sentences description of your feeling today of thinking about the next decade. Let's put the horizon, the limit there. Let's talk next 10 years. Are you feeling? How would you describe your feeling as an artist, as an image maker? We are slightly, all of us in different fields. What's your feeling? How would you describe it? Thinking about the next 10 years. Shane?
This AI thing freaks me out. I've done a deep dive into AI and the concerns about AI, and you listen to the Lex Friedman podcast, or you listen to Sam Harris, and you listen to some of these. I'm only addressing the concerns of AI in regards to image making, because I think that's where I have some expertise. The real concern about AI, and I don't, I'm just going to throw this out there right now, is that there's some debating that the AI, artificial intelligence, will be the death of all humanity. That's to say, there will, at some point, this technology may remove every human on Earth. Now, I notice some of your listeners and some of the listeners may think that that's that's not that seems science fiction. But if you do a deep dive and you start asking the right people, and these are the most intelligent people that we have on the planet, some of them that are saying that this can get very, very ugly very quickly for humans. So, you know, it was just my introduction, this thing about, oh, this isn't photography. And yeah, I do have a little bit of say, and I have a little bit of knowledge about photography. And I don't have Boris's expertise. I mean, I've only been doing photographs for 11 years, but I would entice people to look a little bit deeper, because this isn't just about image making. It's something much deeper. So I would just like to maybe get that message across, that this goes far deeper than just what it is us making images. The idea that the big issue with AI is this digital media thing. It's really not the real big issue, but it's just one of the issues that we're starting to focus on. And as artists, you know, and as photographers, it makes sense for me. This is the ground level to start on, but it gets much more complex and difficult for humanity as we move forward.
Boris, where do you stand on this?
Well, I agree to some extent with Shane. I think this is a huge industrial revolution. Yeah, like electricity and the internet, it will be in all parts of our lives and most jobs. Yeah, there will be an AIification of our world and lives. And like all the tools we have invented, yeah, we can use it for good, we can use it for bad. Yeah, it's like a knife, you can use it for cooking and for killing. The thing that I can't judge about, can this become autonomous? Can this knife get legs and jump off the table? I don't know. I can't make predictions into 1 year, yeah, or half a year. What I have realized since last summer is that I was surprised so many times by things that just happened that I could have not foreseen. In August, it was kind of a big bang, and I was aware of all the things that were happening. But since then, it's like accelerating 360 degrees and speeding up constantly, that even I don't even know what's happening. Yeah, all the new possibilities, it's just too much. And I know by the end of the year, many things will have happened that I can't predict, that I can't foresee, that I'm very surprised about. As an artist, again, I really love the possibilities, and I'm going to explore them further. As a citizen, I share Shane's concern. Yeah, totally.
Boris and I do agree on one thing, Thomas, and we've had this conversation, is that, you know, people make fun of AI because the fingers, it's not getting fingers right, or there's quirky little things, even in the Electrician, if you look at it really closely, and it's amazing to me that got past those judges, Boris. I just have to throw.
Old. It's 7 months old.
I know. But a year ago, Thomas, we couldn't, you know, you see an AI absolutely. Image and you would like, well, that's junk, right? Boris and I have agreed that, I mean, this is improving exponentially. We need to understand that exponentially. Okay. We agree that by the end of the year, Boris and I, we have and he, maybe not a fear for him, but it's a fear for me, because I don't want to speak for him, but we have a fear, or I have a fear, that by the end of the year, even the trained photography eye will not be able to discern reality from, and again, I understand his points about reality, but from a real photograph from an AI. So when we get to that point, and he agrees with me on this timeline, by the end of the year, the fingers thing is going to be fixed. And you're going to look at it and you're going to go, I have no idea. I have no idea. Was this person ever here, or this landscape ever here, or this tree ever here, or this vase ever here? We won't by the end of the year. And that's a short time frame. And we just have to extrapolate this fact, because just a year ago, no AI images were believable. And they're believable today, Boris. I mean, they're absolutely believable to everyone. So I think that's an important fact. And Boris, I appreciate you as an artist, and I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I share kind of, there are parts and bits, and we are on the same side here. I mean, on this global human, scale, it's impossible to make any predictions, and I just hope it doesn't get into any malicious, directions, and that we as humans, I'm a believer, in a human race, with all the bad things happening, and we have been here on this planet for thousands of years, and we are still here. So I hope, in this regard, we will be still here in the next couple of thousands of years, And as image makers, I am actually, we talked with Shane briefly before starting recording. I'm also excited. I mean, I played with AI a little bit myself. We can count, the hours on the fingers of both hands. That's it, So I saw, but I of course follow everything, the development. So it's crazy. It's just insane and fascinating. But I somehow feel that with the progression of the AI, I'm talking about image making now. Of course, some regulations have to come in place and so on that we can, know what we are looking at. But I have the feeling the human-made images, and maybe we need a stamp, right? Human-made, will, if then only increase in value, when talking about a certain level of image making, and a visual art, and those will somehow work in parallel, I think, But I think what you, Shane, or you, Boris, as a photographer, or me as a photographer, I just love still walking with an old-fashioned camera around. I think it will have its value, and if not even, this value of those pieces will go up. What do you think? Human-made.
Well, but if I work with AI, is it not human-made? Yeah, AI as a technology has been invented by humans. The training material is human. The prompter is human.
Do you still photograph, like with light?
Yes. Yeah, but I don't see any kind of need why I should do one thing only. And I also start mixing it. Yeah, you can. If I would have more time, I can use my whole archive and train my own model.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you both so much. Really fascinating. These days, this kind of discussions can go forever, I can imagine. All of you watching, or listening, join the conversation in the comments. I can only imagine the amount. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Boris. Thank you so much. All the best with whatever you are pursuing in your, artistic endeavors and directions. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you taking the time today, Tomas, and thank you, Boris, for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. You too. It was great.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.